for joining us again for the Featured Friday, the Be Major Community Forgotten Coast Real Estate Show. I have with me Travis Alderman, better known as Handy Local, if you've seen any of his business signs and things floating around. So thank you for joining us today.
Hey, no problem at all. Glad to be
here. Super appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, I'm just going to preface all of this with the fact that my personal pooch is put away and he's crying and whining. So if you hear that, just ignore him. He'll be okay.
Same with mine. If you hear mine start barking, I'm sorry.
It's always good times. Well, I always like to start interviews with tell everybody about yourself, your background, anything that you feel free sharing about who you are.
Sure. So I'm 34. I was born and raised in Pensacola, Florida. I spent most of my life up to about 6 years ago there, and where I started to chase storms for the last 5 years. Worked in logistics and supply management for most of that, and just traveled around doing my part, to help with the disaster relief, cleanup, or, management. Before that, Pensacola was my home. I grew up mostly in a different environment than the normal people. I grew up in and out of foster homes, so it was a different type of childhood upbringing. So I learned to start doing things real young, responsibly. Maturity kicked in a lot quicker. Yeah. By the time I was 15, I was emancipated, and I was working for Bubba Gump Framing, believe it or not, the worst name ever, for $8 an hour. And I remember being 15, and there was a guy named Jose that had an apartment complex that was willing to rent me an apartment. And so by the time I was 16, I was full-time working in construction and living in an apartment, my own truck, making, ends meet, paying the bills. Yeah,
so you grew up rather quickly comparatively to most people then.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and that kind of led down the trail of my handyman work. I started realizing I love working with my hands. Anything creative, anything that can, distract my mind. I love doing it. And I love getting the responses from the people too. I'm in a service where, in construction, you have two types of services in my eyes. You have the what's needed and what's wanted. You can go spend $10,000 on a roof that you really just need, but you don't want, and you're never going to really look at it. But that's $10,000, and that's low end. So it's really like 20. But then you can get something like your floors cleaned, or a TV mounted, or shelves put in, or something like that. That's a service wanted. I get better gratification from the customers from, being a handyman. And, so from starting so early, I just have picked up so many trades, and, I found myself just always in the field.
I love that. Well, I know when we first met was because I have a client who's purchasing a home, and it had some things needed to it. And I'm a real big believer in that people are put in front of your path at the time that they're supposed to. And just from talking to you, I was like, you just have something a little different. And I could tell that there was just something. So I was like, I'm going to just invite him on the show. You need to come on the show. So I'm excited that you're here to tell like a little bit about yourself. And obviously coming out of foster care, I mean, so many people could use that and tell a different story. They could use it as a crutch. And, I've had such a bad go of it that, here I am, and woe is me. But I'm so proud of you for coming out of a situation and making something different of yourself. So
thank you. Before I went into the foster system, mainly I was with my grandpa for a while. And he was one of them spit iron, shoe lead kind of old timers. He played banjo type stuff. And, he always said, live with pride and, die with honor. And he said that the best way to live with pride and die with honor is be the best version of yourself you can be. And make yourself irreplaceable in every aspect, whether, it's in your own personal life or someone else's life. And I don't know, I think that kind of evolved over time as maturity grew with me. And I found it to be easier to just stay on top of my responsibilities rather than run from them. And
Yep.
that kind of leads to, me always wanting to do more ventures. Like I've owned a dance studio. I've owned a nutrition shake shop. It was a glow in the dark dance fitness studio in St. Augustine. I've had a mitigation company. I worked in marketing and promotions for years in the nightlife. I traveled working for a paint party before, all around the country. I mean, if there is a challenge, I want to take it on. And handyman work out here, in this community, there's so many challenges for me. So I as long as the sun is shining, I'm always smiling when I go to work. I just love it. It's like
Well,
the best place.
we do have the pleasure of living and working in such a glorious location. I mean, when I'm out showing property and I'm out at
Yeah.
the beaches showing property, I'm like, this is really not that bad of a day, like
Mhm.
it's not awful. So I totally understand that. So,
Yeah.
um, speaking of, like, what is your favorite day? If you're not working, what is your favorite day? What is something you would love to do in the area? Like your go-to chill down
Snorkel. Snorkel.
snorkeling.
I am a massive snorkel fan. I have snorkeled in many countries and all over, and this by far is my favorite place to snorkel.
Really?
Yes, the Cape out there by the island. You get some of the clearest waters. It's real thick, so it's a beautiful scenery. I love it out here with snorkeling. But
Yeah,
if I'm
we've
not doing
snorkeled
that,
out on the bay side of the state park.
yeah,
That's really nice there.
yeah, that's the area.
So scallop season is a fun thing for you then.
I actually didn't do it last year, and
You
yeah,
have to.
I actually haven't done it yet.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, the last 2 years I just never made it out there. I had stuff going on, but
I call
definitely
it an
this year.
adult Easter egg hunt.
The what?
An adult Easter egg hunt.
I could see that.
It's
I
really fun.
mean, it definitely gets packed out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It definitely does, for sure. It looks like polka dots out there during scallop season
absolutely.
of boats. So, well, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad. So you mentioned your grandpa. Is your grandpa kind of like, and did he help teach you the trade, or how did you
No,
learn the?
I was too young to actually learn what I know today. It was more he instilled knowledge of,
Mhm,
self morals and, self growth.
mhm.
But that what he gave me there was enough to, like I said, evolve into more. I picked up the trade after, when I started with Bubba Gump framing, and that was when it began. And I went from framing to roofing to windows. I guess I would master a trade and I'd get bored with it, so I would go
Mhm.
to another one, and
Yep.
that kind of speaks for how I am or why I like handyman work so much, because it's different. Every day is a different challenge.
And each
So
job is a little different.
each one, it kind of helps break up the repetitive cycles of construction. The same thing every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of what you do, can we talk about this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm super excited. When I met you there, you obviously gave my client a quote on some work that needed to be done. Thank you very
Right.
much for that, by the way. But you handed me this brochure, and when you talked about it, your face just lit up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually a really cool thing." So, um,
Yeah.
can you
This
give us the down low of the handyman and maintenance services that you
Yeah,
told me?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, if most of the business out here in handyman work is generally just maintenance stuff. I mean, and most of that maintenance comes from rental companies, real estate companies, property management companies, always needing something fixed. Well, we don't really have a lot of people out here to offer services to fix that, and it's hard to bill for those type of things. Changing a light bulb that's an hour away, how do you charge
Yeah.
for that? It gets difficult. So what I've done is I've made a maintenance program that charges per month per house. And so basically you pay a fee and you get maintenance coverage for 3 or 6 months. and that covers everything from electrical, plumbing, wood. I mean, you name it, we'll go take care of it. It's like another sheet of insurance, if you would, like
Mm-hmm.
another coverage.
Well, and I think there's so many that are still here that are in our older generation
Mhm.
that could use some normal run-of-the-mill maintenance, but don't have the ability to get out and do it themselves. But I
Right.
see that that's a really good product possibly for them.
Absolutely. I mean, the hardest thing to do is find someone to come fix the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the small stuff. So you can't just type in small repairs and get contractors. So what I'm offering is a way to eliminate all those fears and concerns and those worries of fixing these small things. My hopes is to eventually get to 100 properties. Right now, I have commitments of over 30. I'm
Nice.
hoping to start May 15th. That's our launch date. So if anyone is interested in getting their property, maintenance protected for the season, we will be starting May 15th. And it has two different start and end dates, or two different end dates for 3 months and for 6 months. And they're different rates. It's $280 a month for the regular month coverage, and then I believe it was 210 for the other coverage.
Oh, 196.
196. Yes. So for 6 months.
I have it
Yeah.
here. So do you go in at the house first and kind of assess the home?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Each house gets assessed, and we determine what becomes a handyman project and what becomes maintenance. See, maintenance is basically solving a problem now. Handyman work is fixing or repairing those problems. So a good example is when a leak happens, you call me out there, and let's say it's leaking from the garbage disposal. I may be able to stop it, but that doesn't mean it's fixed the problem. I may
Right.
have band-aided it. So now I've done a maintenance call, but you still need a handyman. So what I'm doing is I'm going in and assessing all the properties, looking for what is a handyman job or repair job and what is maintenance. And then I'll list those items out, and then we can schedule accordingly to fix, which items need to be done first.
That's awesome. So you just kind of prioritize it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the right structure, there could be a really nice smooth flow with, maintenance problem or maintenance, solving problems out here.
Yeah.
It's just kind of complicated because of the distance between everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Distance between the homes and distance between the supplies to get the materials to fix
Yes.
said issues with any home. So that's a whole nother ballgame. Well, I really love that. I think that as far as like matching it into real estate per se, I mean, if a client calls me into their home and they want to list their house, we kind of go through and I'm like, well, you may want to fix this or you may want to do that. This could put you ahead of the game so that if you wanted to, let's just say you're thinking maybe in a year or two, possibly, turn the house that you're in and sell it and move on. Then if you got set up in this, then when we got to that point, we wouldn't have as many issues or things that needed to be done because we would already
Right.
know that everything's good to go. So I
Nothing
love it. I
bad
think it's
can
a great
come from it.
program.
Yeah, nothing bad can come from it.
No.
It's it's all pros. Having somebody for coverage on maintenance is all pros. It helps keep everything smooth.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. Do you have many on your team?
So I have just one guy right now, but I believe with us two, we can manage 50 properties. But I have two on reserve. I have one in Wisconsin that's willing to come out here, and then I have one in Panama City.
Nice.
And I
Nice.
have repair guys on standby too, because if I'm in the middle of the season, maintenance is going to be priority, fixing and solving the problems. I wanted to make sure I can offer repair guys too, so I've been recruiting some
Good.
contractors.
Good. Great.
Yeah, so
Well,
we'll be
that sounds
prepared.
very exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be good. This is going to be the game changer out here. I mean, everyone's been trying to solve this maintenance problem, and I think that this will be the solution.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about like this about your business or I mean like is there any other thing that you want to throw out there about who you are and what you do?
I'm just a very driven person. I believe in self-growth over everything. I mean, 34 braces, you know, it's all about, you know, the best version of who you can be. And I think that that's ultimately what I'm trying to accomplish out here. I left the city to come here because I felt that this place would help me find who I am. And I've actually gained more than that. I've gained like new family, friends that I didn't think I would gain here. And it's been just an amazing 2 years since I have been here. So I look forward to, you know, solving more problems with the community and, you know, growing. I mean, I don't know if you saw, we did the parade yesterday.
I did, but I was in it as well.
Were you?
So we were in front of you, so I saw you guys come around. And I was like, "Hey!"
Oh, I didn't see you.
Well, I was wearing a rainbow wig and a
yeah.
mask, and I would like walk up to my clients who I know really well, or friends I know really well, and they were like, "Hey," and I'm like, "It's Nicole." They're like, "Oh my gosh!" So
It was such a good time. It was incredible. Yeah,
the Mardi Gras parade was really small the first year I was in it. I think there was like 4 or 5 different floats or whatever. And then I think that was 3 years ago. And then because I'm part of the Swivel Sisters, the women fishing group.
Okay.
And so we're always in it, and they're obnoxious and I love them, which is why I'm part of it. But they definitely, I got sucked in. And then this year I decided, you know, our team decided we wanted to dress up and do it too. So we had a good time.
Oh, it was an amazing time. I would definitely do it again. Next year, I'm building a float though.
I know that's what we said too. Next year we'll do a float, but this year was not a possibility. So,
I like it.
That's awesome. Well, before we sign off, if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, what is the best way?
Texting always works because, you know, text me 850-712-2742.
All right, and I have your number. I'll drop that in the notes too.
Great. Yeah, texting's a lot easier. I usually get back by the end of the day or the next day.
Awesome. All right. I'll put I think we have an email and some stuff, so I'll drop that information in the show notes for us today. And I appreciate you doing this with me. This was fun.
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad that you had me.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, enjoy your day, and thank you all for joining us. And until next Friday, we'll talk soon.
Bye.